Hey there, it's Wendy Colton from Think Real Estate, and today we're going to talk about the pros and cons of living in Highland Park. Pro number one, the history. Highland Park is actually one of the first suburbs in Los Angeles. It was the hub to the arts and crafts movement in the early part of the 20th century, and it was a home to artists, writers, and intellectuals. In the second half of the 20th century, it became a home to many Latino families, and which brought a great fresh perspective on cultural diversity and also sparked dialogue and action on fighting discrimination and advancing civil rights. And today, Highland Park is still a creative and eclectic neighborhood with a rich cultural diversity. Number two, architecture. Here in Highland Park, we have a robust inventory of craftsman, Spanish, California bungalows. Up in Arroyo View Estate, you're going to find a lot of mid-century modern homes. And then in their Garbanzo district, you're going to see Queen Anne's, Victorians, Tudor revivals. And then on Professor's Row, there's just a row of just beautiful stately homes down in Sycamore Grove. Number three are the hills, views, and the neighborhoods of Highland Park. Highland Park is kind of like a bowl. It's surrounded by hills. We've got Eagle Rock in the north, Mount Washington in the south, South Pasadena to the east, and then Adams Hill and Glendale to the west. And it's also a lot bigger than people think. There's about 60,000 people in Highland Park, so it's bigger than you think, but it's also made up of about 9 micro neighborhoods. And because of that, each neighborhood has its own vibe, and it really feels like its own neighborhood. People really do look out for each other, and I love that about Highland Park. Number four is proximity to downtown LA. We're only about 15 minutes to downtown. Maybe about 13 or 14 minutes to Dodger Stadium, about 12 minutes to Silver Lake, 10 minutes to Glendale. Additionally, we have 2 Gold Line stops in Highland Park, one at 57th and Figueroa and the other one at Heritage Square. So you can get anywhere you need to go that the Metro goes. All right, number 5, Highland Park is hip and happening. Time Out magazine did an article about 2 or 3 years ago about the 50 coolest neighborhoods in the world, not just in the US, but in the world. Highland Park, number 9. Couldn't believe it. Very, very cool. Also, people that are moving from New York, which there's quite a few people that are doing that, they really like in Highland Park to say Williamsburg or Brooklyn. And we also, because it's LA, I've got to mention, we've got famous people that have grown up or have lived here. Billie Eilish and her brother, Diane Keaton, Jackson Brown, Beck, they all grew up here. Andie MacDowell, she just moved into Highland Park about 1.5 years ago. And Mark Maron was a longtime resident, and he ran his podcast, WTF, out of his garage on Phillips Way. Also, you might want to check out the video I did about the famous movies that were filmed in Highland Park. It's really cool, so check out the link. Number 6, entertainment. There's so much to do in Highland Park. When I first moved here over 16 years ago, we had to go like downtown or Silver Lake or Pasadena to get a great meal. Now it's like, where in Highland Park do we go? On the York corridor, we have the York, which was a gastropub, which was the first one that opened and really became the anchor for all of the other restaurants in that whole corridor. So we have Joy, great Taiwanese from the people of Pine and Crane, Nativo. For breakfast, we've got the Highland Park Cafe, Haracha Azteca, amazing. Donut Friend, so good. And then on the Fig Corridor, Cafe Birdie, incredible food. Home State, love that place. We also have ETA, which has charcuterie and oysters, also a bar too, so that could go on either category. And then we have Triple Beam, Hippo, Otana, and great sushi on Figueroa as well. Okay, bars. We've got a lot of great ones here in Highland Park. On York, we have the York that I mentioned earlier. We have the Hermosillo Club, which is home to the Highland Park Brewery. They make a lot of great craft brews. Johnny's has been there a long time before everything started happening on York, so that's an old favorite there. We also have the Offbeat Bar, Barcade, which is actually a combination of a bar and an arcade, and it's really, really fun to go to. And then on Figueroa, we have the Gold Line, which is called a vinyl bar, because instead of having a jukebox, they just have tons of albums, and you can just pick an album and they'll play it for you. We have Good Housekeeping, which has a speakeasy vibe. It's behind Cafe Birdie. That one's super cool. La Quavita, that's also been around forever. Also known as the Little Cave. That's also one of our favorites. And then ETA is a great bar. They also have like charcuterie and oysters as well. We've also got some great shopping in Highland Park. On York, we have Daughter, which has really lovely clothing, really well curated jewelry, great kids section. It is my go-to gift shop. Big Bud Press, they have just great colored basics and killer onesies. Shorthand, great place to go for any of your like stationery needs. And Free Cloth is it's a men's craft denim store on Figueroa, so that one's really cool as well. On York, there's also a Rosie Bunny Bean, which is our favorite indie-owned pet shop. There's also a lot of other things to do in Highland Park that aren't bars or restaurants. We have the Highland Cafe. We've got the Art Walk on second Saturdays, everything from galleries to Galco's vintage sodas and candy shop, also great hoagies. One of my favorite places is the Highland Park Bowl, and that was really the anchor for all the development on Figueroa. Originally opened as a bowling alley in 1925. Over the years, it became like eventually, Mr. T's punk club in like the 90s and 2000s. I remember going there thinking like, what is this place? Why is it walled off? And here, behind that wall, were all the bowling alleys. And not only that, they had all of the original equipment. So the restoration company that redid that, they did it up so well. The pin setters are chandeliers. The original ball returns are part of the shelves. You've really got to go check it out, and their pizzas are fantastic. Okay, and now we're going to go over some of the cons of living in Highland Park. First of all, it's become expensive. It's a destination neighborhood now. Typically, Mount Washington and Eagle Rock were a lot more expensive per square foot than Highland Park. Not anymore. Highland Park is now at about $819 a square foot. Mount Washington's $802 per square foot, and Eagle Rock is $755 per square foot. So who'd have thunk it? All right, number 2 in the cons of Highland Park. House size. They're not as big as some of the areas in Northeast LA. Most of the homes are California bungalows. There are 2 to 3 bedrooms, 1 to 2 baths, averaging about 1,400 square feet. So if you need a bigger home, you have a bigger family, you might need to go to Mount Washington or Eagle Rock, where they average around 1,600 to 1,700 a square foot. But you still can find those bigger homes in Highland Park with the newer construction or some of the homes that have been renovated. Number 3, traffic on York. From Eagle Rock Boulevard to Avenue 56, it is 1 lane each way, and it can get really congested. But if you're local, you know what to do. Number 4, distance to the west side. During COVID, when there wasn't any traffic, 25-30 minutes to get to Santa Monica or Venice. Now, with rush hour, it's an hour or more. I've done it. I worked on the west side for a few years. It's pretty bad. Number 5, our elementary schools admittedly are not as highly rated as, say, Eagle Rock or Mount Washington, but because the demographics are changing so quickly, that means there's a lot more parental involvement, and our schools are fast improving. For example, the Renaissance Art Academy, very, very well respected. A lot of families want to get into Aldama Elementary because they have a renowned dual language program there. And Ben Franklin High School has a great STEM magnet program and a dual language academy magnet. So they're fast improving. Number 6, crime. In the 80s and the 90s, Highland Park wasn't the safest place to be. There was a lot of gang activity, and that's because the Avenues gang had basically kind of co-opted some of the areas of Highland Park. Then in about 2009, the police used some of the federal racketeering laws and just did sweeps and raids and put a lot of the leaders, they're in jail, and it has really cleaned up, and a lot of, again, police involvement, community involvement, and it's now a lot safer than it used to be. All right, so those are the pros and cons of living in Highland Park. If you have any questions at all, I'm a native, I've lived there for 16 years. I'd love to help you, so please reach out and let's have a conversation about you living in Highland Park.